see different placements of the arms, you know, really being cautious of having that top arm by your ear. If it's down here, you know, you're not gonna really, you're using more muscles to hold the shoulder in place. Here, you can fall into it. It's up here, it's gonna give you more reach without even thinking about it and having to actually twist the body. And yeah, that's 3 minutes real quick, and then you'll be seeing more on the water. And then you want to talk about something you're gonna...
Yeah, like lately I'm
what
trying...
strokes?
Yeah, like my stroke is like I'm trying to use a bigger blade when I'm training and even for competitions, because I saw that, like, as Connor is usually having a really high frequency, like with my brother, because usually we are always training together, we saw that maybe like a bigger Connor stroke maybe it's more efficient. So we try to like use bigger blades, and it seems to work. It's really like at the beginning it's harder, but maybe it's paying off. We are still trying to figure it out which one is the good technique. But for sure, like the choke stroke, for me it's working absolutely fine. For the same reason that Connor was saying, that you can push your body on it. But that's really up to the constitution of everyone. My brother, for example, he's not really choke stroking. He's more just like pushing from the top of the paddle to the bottom. So it's really personal, no? How everyone is.
It's totally personal. In fact, if you look around this circle, just look at the person next to you or on either side, you look across the circle at the people across from you, you're going to see that, you know, we're all different shapes and sizes. And even if we're the same height and the same weight, if you know, if you found somebody the same height and the same weight and stood them next to you, if you measured them and you started measuring the lengths of their long bones, like their forearms between their elbow and their wrist, or their upper arm between their elbow and their shoulder, that's going to be different. And even if they were the same, which is highly unlikely, where the muscles across joints, where they originate, where they insert, are going to be in different places. And then you consider some of us have really big aerobic engines, and others not so much, but we have more muscle strength that we want to try to apply to the stroke. So we all, it's like we all have a different toolkit that we can use for paddling. And that's why I think it's really, it's actually ridiculous to think that we're all going to paddle the same, because we're all different. And so, you know, a lot of what Connor said, I love listening to him talk about paddling, because a lot of what he says are things that I try to think about. He talked about trying to, you know, get his body weight on the paddle and really load the paddle. And then he talked about trying to release it and kind of getting, you know, up and making the board feel light and make it feel like you're almost on your tippy toes. And I like to do the same thing and then feel like I'm about to fall forward, but then I can get the next stroke in the water and load the paddle. But that's something that's evolved for me and that I've played with again and again. And you know, the more I paddle, the more I feel I do that better. And then I discover something else that I can focus on and tweak. And I guess the thing about paddling is it's a never-ending evolution. You continually evolve your techniques so that it fits the strengths and weaknesses that you have at any given moment with your fitness, because even that changes over time, you know. And it also, you can build on, you know, what you've learned about paddling into different conditions, you know, into strong headwind or turning around and going with the bumps, or into the, you know, sideways in these conditions. So, but I'm a little unlike these guys. Like, I don't like to choke down much, other than just after I change sides. I'll choke for a few strokes sometimes, and then I'll go up. But I will, you know, I will move my hand down the shaft, and I'll kind of hang on the paddle a little bit like that instead of choking. If I do choke, it seems to be on the right side only. I don't know why, and on the left side I don't. Maybe because I paddle on the right side in the canoe for 20 years and I didn't paddle one stroke in the left. I just think that, you know, you're gonna, if you watch the three of us paddle today, you'll see some things that we do that are really similar, and then you're gonna see some things that are really blatantly different. But I think you could break paddling down into, I sort of break it down into 5 things, and I bet you these guys agree that there are 5 things that they try to do as well. And the first is that in paddling, the way you move the board forward, it doesn't matter whether you're on a board, in a canoe, a kayak, you know, whatever, is you put your blade in the water, you secure it there, you gather water behind your blade and make it stick in the water, and then you pull yourself by the paddle. And actually, when it gets close to your body, you're bringing your hips back underneath you and you're unloading your body weight, you're kind of pushing yourself by the paddle as well. So that's the first thing, and you guys do that, right? You think about that. Oh, yeah. So the second thing I think is that you want to use big muscles preferentially over small muscles. So it makes no point to go out there and paddle with your arms. They're teeny tiny muscles, even if you have the biggest biceps in the world. Those big biceps are small compared to the legs, the muscles that cross your hips. That's the most heavily muscled joint in the body, your core, your back. So you want to use those big muscles and get them involved in the stroke rather than little muscles. You want to use body weight for a couple of reasons. One is because you can add your body weight to the force of your muscles, and it takes a big load off your muscles and makes it that much easier to generate a lot of force on the paddle. The other reason is because if you get weight on the paddle, that's less weight that's on the board. And so the board will sit higher in the water, and the board that's displacing less water, sitting higher in the water, is easier to move across the water. So you guys do those things too, right? And everyone else does too, right? Like, yeah, so pretty universal. And then the fourth thing is, you know, you want to do as much as you can with a positive blade angle. So that's, you know, that angle when you put the paddle in the water through till about vertical. And it's okay to pull it back here a little bit, to be a little negative. You just don't want to be way back, you know? And so if you're back here by your feet or even a bit behind, you know, that's okay if you're still feeling connection. There's no rule. Some people pull it out in front of their feet early. Some people are a little bit further back. It's all good. It's whatever works for you, right? We're all different. But the important thing is most of what you do is with a positive angle to vertical. That's where most of the acceleration is occurring. And then that's four things. And then the last thing is you want to try to do things that's going to maximize the run of your board between strokes. So how well it carries its speed between strokes, how far it travels between strokes. And when the paddle's not even in the water, you don't want to do things that's going to mess that up. So I like to think like those 5 things, if you could break it down and simplify it, just there's 5 things, really. And then it's like, you know, we each have we each have like a puzzle, you know, like puzzles, jigsaw puzzles, we each have a puzzle, but we all have different pieces to our puzzle because we're all different. So we got to figure out how those pieces fit together to address for us each to address those 5 things the best way possible for us. And the way that you choose to do it might be different the way that you choose to do it, and it's going to be different than the way I would or Connor or Bruno would. We find a way that works for us. So, but if we're helping you in a clinic, our job is to try to troubleshoot with you on those 5 things, to maybe try to give you some suggestions on how to do those things better. But there's no right way or wrong way to paddle. I think it's deal with those 5 things, and you're going to be good, you know? So, I don't know who wants to go first.
Well,
I'll talk first.
One more thing before, we're going to also throw Fiona in.
Oh, good, yeah,
just
good.
to get one more perspective, and then this is a big group, you know,
Yeah.
so we have a lot of different mechanics, and she's going to tell us.
Yeah, so I agree with everything that all these guys are saying. Super good tips, but as a girl who's not very tall and not super muscly, I have to use technique a lot more than pure strength. And a lot of my strength is in my lower body. So when I'm paddling, I'm trying to use as much rotation as I can in my hips, so I can rotate my blade forward and then use my quads and my glutes in order to actually pull the paddle back through the water. So I'm not just relying on my upper body, which would, like Larry said, would blow out in a race in the start. You know, you have to, like for me, I really have to rotate, engage with my lower core, glutes, everything down there, and keep the board moving forward with my feet, because the feet is a connection to the board. So it's a lot of rotation, a lot of planting my paddle out in front at a positive angle, and then pulling back through the core, through the legs, and then keeping forward. So that's my little thing to think about for a lot of ladies that are out there paddling is, you know, we have hips, so use them.